In a smoke-filled room, far from the roar of the crowd, Paul Heyman sat at the table, mapping out the future of WWE, not just for next year, but for WrestleMania's 3 years away. The man they call the Wise Man wasn't just plotting matches, he was crafting legacies, weaving stories that would echo through the ages, all while mentoring the next generation of main event superstars. This is the mind of Paul Heyman, a visionary who has survived decades in the wrestling world and now holds the keys to its future. The year is 2025, and Paul Heyman is no longer the brash, loudmouth promoter who revolutionized wrestling in the 1990s with ECW. At 60 years old, he's a sage, a survivor of multiple wrestling regimes, a man whose influence stretches from the gritty bingo halls of Philadelphia to the corporate boardrooms of WWE. In a rare, candid interview on the Ariel Helwani show, Heyman pulled back the curtain on his role in today's WWE, revealing a creative process so intricate, so forward-thinking, it redefines what it means to tell stories in professional wrestling. He's not just a manager, not just a mouthpiece for Roman Reigns' bloodline. He's a mentor, a strategist, and the keeper of the flame, working at the pleasure of Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque to shape the future of the industry. Heyman's journey began decades ago, long before the bright lights of WrestleMania. As a teenager, he hustled his way into Madison Square Garden, not as a wrestler, but as a photographer, capturing the lifelike figures of the WWF for wrestling magazines. At 14, he was snapping photos of Vince McMahon Sr.'s stars, learning the business from the ground up. By the 1980s, he was managing talent. His silver tongue and fearless attitude made him a force in the industry. He stood toe-to-toe with legends like Lou Albano, Freddie Blassie, and the Grand Wizard, the 3 wise men of the East, whose managerial prowess defined an era. When Reigns dubbed him the Wise Man later, it wasn't just a catchy nickname. It was a nod to that legacy, a recognition that Heyman had become the elder statesman of wrestling, a bridge between its past and its future. It's a name I took seriously, his voice carrying the weight of decades. A lot of people come to me because I'm the old guy now, because I've survived so many regimes. This is the heartbeat of AlphaWar Room, stories of grit, vision, and the relentless pursuit of greatness in the squared circle. If you're part of our fight family, hit that subscribe button to dive deeper into the world of wrestling, where every story is a battle won. Heyman's role in WWE today is fluid, defined not by a rigid job description, but by the needs of the moment. He said, "I serve at the pleasure of the Chief Content Officer, Paul Levesque, as much or as little as I'm needed. Some days he's a quiet presence, observing from the sidelines as the machine of WWE hums along. Other days he's the spark, delivering motivation, inspiration, or a hard truth to a roster of talent hungry for direction. Gone are the days of word-for-word scripts, a hallmark of the Vince McMahon era. Under Triple H's leadership, WWE's creative process has shifted, focusing on the emotional core of a performance rather than memorized lines. It's not what you say, but how you say it," he said, his words sharp and deliberate. "It's about what we're selling, what's the emotion involved." This philosophy has become his North Star, guiding young superstars to connect with audiences on a visceral level. Heyman's influence is most evident in his work with the next generation. He doesn't just advise, he invests in the future, hand-picking talent he believes will carry WWE into the next decade. Bron Breakker is one of his chosen ones. A powerhouse with raw intensity is one of his chosen ones. Bron Breakker and I are on camera together because I was working so closely with him behind the scenes. I truly believe that's the future of our company. He sees Breakker as a guaranteed WrestleMania main eventer, a star whose physicality and charisma could dominate the industry for years to come. Jacob Fatu, another rising force, earned similar praise. A guaranteed WrestleMania main eventer multiple times in the future, he declared his conviction unwavering. Rhea Ripley is too on his radar, a performer whose potential is limitless if the right story and opponent align. Heyman's eye for talent is unmatched, honed over decades of spotting diamonds in the rough and turning them into icons. But it's not just about mentoring individuals. Heyman's vision extends to the very structure of WWE storytelling, a process that stretches far beyond the next pay-per-view. In meetings with Triple H and the creative team, he's part of a group that plans not just for next year's WrestleMania, but the ones after that, and the ones after that. When we start talking about next year's WrestleMania, or the year after WrestleMania, or the year after that's WrestleMania, we start planning things out, he said, his voice carrying the weight of a man who sees the future. This long-term approach is a seismic shift from the past, when WWE's creative process was often reactive, driven by the demands of weekly television. Heyman credits the Bloodline storyline, a sprawling saga of family, betrayal, and power, with giving WWE the stability to plan years in advance. He said, "This WrestleMania is just the pathway to the next year's WrestleMania, which is the pathway to the next year's WrestleMania." The Bloodline is Heyman's masterpiece, a storyline that has redefined modern wrestling. Anchored by Roman Reigns, the undisputed Universal WWE Champion, it's a saga of loyalty and betrayal, with layers that have kept fans on the edge of their seats for years. From the rise of the Usos to the emergence of Solo Sikoa and the shocking betrayals within the faction, the Bloodline has been a masterclass in long-form storytelling. Heyman's fingerprints are all over it. His ability to weave emotion, history, and high stakes into every promo and match. At WrestleMania 39 in 2023, the world watched as Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens dethroned the Usos for the tag team titles, a moment that felt like the culmination of a years-long arc. Yet, it was only a stepping stone, setting the stage for Cody Rhodes' quest to finish the story against Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Heyman's role was to ensure every beat hit, every emotion landed, every betrayal cut deep. But to understand Heyman's genius, you have to go back to his roots. In the 1990s, he was the mad scientist of ECW, a renegade who turned a scrappy Philadelphia promotion into a cultural phenomenon. With stars like Taz, Sabu, and Rob Van Dam, he created a brand that was raw, rebellious, and unapologetic. ECW wasn't just wrestling, it was a revolution, a middle finger to the polished production of WWE and WCW. Heyman's ability to tell stories in ECW, gritty, emotional, and real, laid the groundwork for the modern wrestling landscape. When he joined WWE in 2001, he brought that same fire, managing Brock Lesnar to a world championship at just 25 years old. Later, he elevated CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and others, always finding a way to make the audience feel something. His promos were never just words, they were sermons, delivered with the intensity of a man who believed every syllable. Now, in 2025, Heyman's role is less about stealing the spotlight and more about building it for others. He's no longer the loudest voice in the room, but the one that carries the most weight. His work with Bron Breakker is a prime example. Breakker, a second-generation star, with the athleticism of his father Rick Steiner and the charisma to match, was a standout in NXT before hitting the main roster. Heyman saw something special, a raw talent that could be molded into a megastar. His on-screen partnership as manager and client is a reflection of their real-life mentorship, with Heyman guiding Breakker through the nuances of character work and emotional storytelling. Jacob Fatu, another member of the Bloodline, is a similar story. His raw power and Samoan heritage make him a natural fit for the faction, but Heyman's guidance has helped him channel that intensity into something unforgettable. Rhea Ripley, too, has felt Heyman's influence. As a former women's world champion, she's already a star, but Heyman sees her as something more, a potential cornerstone of WWE's future. Provided the right story and opponent align, he said, his words measured but brimming with possibility. Heyman's ability to see the potential in these performers comes from decades of experience, from knowing what makes a star shine and what makes a story resonate. He's not just planning matches, he's planning legacies, ensuring that when the lights of WrestleMania shine, the right names are in the main event. The scope of WWE's planning under Heyman and Triple H is staggering. 3 years out, they're already laying the groundwork for stories that will unfold in 2028 at WrestleMania 44.
Every decision, who wins a title, who turns heel, who forms an alliance, is a chess move, setting up a board that won't be fully revealed for years. The Bloodline's success has given them the freedom to think this far ahead, a luxury that past creative teams rarely had. In the Vince McMahon era, stories were often written week to week, reacting to ratings or injuries. Now, with Triple H at the helm and Heyman in the room, WWE is building something sustainable, a narrative engine that can run for years without losing steam. But Heyman's role is not without its challenges. The wrestling world is unpredictable, with injuries, fan reactions, and real-life events that can derail even the best-laid plans. Heyman's job is to stay flexible, to adapt while keeping the long-term vision intact. He said, "We're going 3 WrestleManias from now." It's a high-wire act,